Hi, fourth grade. We're back for another measurement lesson. Today we are talking about area. So again, this is something that you learned in third grade. So we're going to build on that knowledge now in fourth grade. So what do you know about area? When we're talking about measurement, we learned about measuring perimeter of rectangles. Now we're talking about measuring the area of a rectangle. So what do you know about area? Let's see if this is part of what you remember. The area is determined by counting the total number of same-sized units that will cover a shape. That's how we determine area. We're going to count the total number of same-sized units that will cover a shape. There's a second piece to that. Area is also determined by counting the square units that will cover a shape without gaps or overlaps. So we're going to be counting squares, whether they're going to be square centimeters, square inches, square miles, whatever. We're going to be counting square units. We're going to see how many square units it will take to cover a shape without having any gaps or overlapping any of our squares. So we're finding the area of rectangles today. So, definition right out of your student activity book. Area is the total number of square units. That is so important. We are measuring square units that cover a figure. In today's lesson, it will be rectangles. Each square unit inside these rectangles is 1 centimeter long and 1 centimeter wide. So it is 1 square centimeter. Because if I have 1 centimeter long and 1 wide, it forms a square. So all of our measurement for area is going to be answered with square something, square feet, square miles, square yards, square millimeters, square meters. Everything forms a square. Remember, we're laying these on top of an object, a figure, to determine how much space it takes up. So we're counting the square units. So here's our key again, just like in our lesson with perimeter. We have the square is going to represent 1 square centimeter today. We're still going to be using that lowercase l for length. We're going to be using the lowercase w for width. And we're going to use a capital A for the area. So, how do we find the areas of rectangles X, Y, and Z? Is there a faster method? And what is the unit used to measure these rectangles? Okay, so let's figure these out. There's 3 questions I want you to be thinking about. How are we going to find the areas of each of those 3 rectangles? I want you to be thinking, is there a faster way? And what is the unit used to measure these rectangles? So let's start with rectangle X again. Now these are the same shapes of rectangles that we used for our perimeter lesson, but we're going to now measure what's the area inside. Okay, how many squares does it take to fill up this figure? So I know right away, I can guess, probably at least half of you are already counting squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Absolutely. 12 square centimeters are inside rectangle X. Yes, absolutely. You can count them. But boy, you're not going to want to do that much longer. Because when we start giving you bigger areas, okay, with more counting, smaller sections, smaller squares, it gets a whole lot more complicated. But yes, how do we find the areas of rectangles X, Y, and Z? We can count the squares inside. That would answer this question right here, wouldn't it? Second question, is there a faster method? Again, I can count. Let's look at rectangle Y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Done. 12 square centimeters. Absolutely. These are simple rectangles, boys and girls. It's going to get more challenging. So, we know that this one is 12. How do you think we can get 12 out of that? Let me show you a picture of a rectangle. let me think. If I have a rectangle that they said was 2 by 6, and what if they don't, I'm going to turn that light off, that's giving me a glare. What if they don't divide it up for you like this? What if they don't give you all your nice squares inside of there? What if it's a blank rectangle? And they want to know what's the area of that rectangle. If I told you that this side had 6 centimeters, and this side, this way, is divided into 2 centimeters. So going this way, I'm going to have 2 centimeters. See, there's 2. 1, 2. This way, we're going to divide it into 6 sections, 6 square units. Ooh, that's really uneven. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could even count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, you can count them. Did you notice anything about the numbers I used to help me find a faster way? This was 6 centimeters. This was 2 centimeters. We had gotten an answer of 12 square centimeters because we counted them. Do you see 12? Do you see the answer of 12 somewhere on that rectangle? How do you get 12 out of 6 and 2? Correct. 6 times 2. I'm doing 2 6 times. So we use multiplication to figure out area. We say area equals the length times the width. Area is the length times the width. 6 times 2 equals 12 square centimeters. So if we get into more complex figures, beyond just rectangles and simple small rectangles, we will use the formula area is always going to be the length times the width. Let's go back and try the last rectangle, rectangle Z. All right, rectangle Z, wow, that's pretty easy. How many square centimeters are inside rectangle Z? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'll bet you there's still a math problem there. Even with a simple rectangle like rectangle Z, we can still say that area is still the length times the width. The length was 5, the width was 1. Area is the length times the width. 5 times 1. 5 square centimeters. We always have to label it square centimeters because it's not just length. It's not just a line and I'm measuring a centimeter. It is squares inside an area and they form squares. So, learning about area today means that we are learning how to use multiplication to solve for area. Area equals length times width. Now today, boys and girls, you're going to get on Nearpod and you're going to look for the lesson called, and your teacher will give you the code for it, the lesson is called Area 2020. Just like we named it Perimeter 2020, this one is called Area 2020, but we're using Nearpod today instead of Compass. because Compass went really complicated. Now, if you want a challenge, you can certainly ask your teacher, let me try some other shapes besides rectangles, because that's what Compass does. Compass teaches you to take and find the area of squares and even odd shapes, two-part shapes, and even triangles. It would teach you how to do that. And if you're up for a challenge, absolutely. Ask your teacher if she can assign you the Compass lesson called Area, because it's really good. But our lesson today for 4th grade is we're just teaching you how to find the area of rectangles. So you'll go to Nearpod for your lesson, and you'll complete that lesson on Nearpod. However, if you're up for a challenge, just reach out to your teacher. I'm sure she'd be glad to give you that challenging work that we all need sometimes. So, your assignment for today after this video is to go ahead and get on Nearpod, and you can begin your lesson there. All right, boys and girls, we'll see you.